everyone. Welcome to Live Interactive English. I am Mike.
And I'm Rainbow.
And today it's part 2 of our look at the good and the bad, the pros and the cons of wildlife tourism.
Yes, and I have a question for you.
Oh, yeah?
Wildlife tourism, one of the places that I've always wanted to go, and I know that you've had an amazing experience there, is the African safari.
Yes.
Tell me about it.
As a kid, I was lucky enough to go to the beautiful country of Kenya in East Africa. I believe the name of the national park was the Masai Mara.
Wow.
It's one of the bigger national parks in that part of the world. And there you see all the animals you'd expect to see. We saw lions, we saw elephants, we saw hippos, we saw leopards, we saw a cute little family of cheetahs having a nap, and we saw endless amounts of gazelles, antelope, giraffe, wildebeest, you know, kind of big. They're the food. We saw the food animals, the animals that the lions and everyone else.
Their food?
No, because when you go on safari, you go in the middle of the daytime.
Okay.
Which is good because in the evening the animals are having dinner and you don't want to be dinner. So
we're going after they've eaten breakfast.
Well, they might not have even eaten breakfast. They might have just woken up and taken a nap. So it's kind of sad, and you know the lions are sleeping, and you're like, "Hey, lions, I came a long way." No, you don't do that.
But you don't want them to eat you.
You know, it's still cool because there's a whole group of lions, and they don't care about you.
Yeah.
They just kind of lie there, and you drive up, and they.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
And then they go back to sleep and stuff. So it's kind of cool. But if you're expecting to see, you know, a nature program like on television with cheetahs chasing each other, it's probably
You'd be
not.
in danger too.
You would be very lucky to see that. So, but it's still an amazing experience. And of course, the smell of an elephant family up close, it's something you can't imagine.
And you probably never forget.
You only want to experience. So yes, definitely do it. Get out there. Go at a time when hopefully there aren't many other people, because you'll have a great time, no doubt. All right, guys, we're going to get into our article next, so let's check it out. Although examples of abusive animal practices can still be found around the world, there has been a push for more ethical wildlife tourism in recent years. When practiced in an ethical manner, wildlife tourism can actually serve as a great tool to educate people and raise awareness about wildlife conservation. Groups like World Animal Protection promote ethical wildlife tourism. This type of tourism involves taking part only in activities that don't harm vulnerable animals or damage natural habitats, and it encourages tourists to make better choices while traveling. Safaris, whale-watching tours, and shark cage diving are activities that fall under the ethical wildlife tourism umbrella. As an added benefit for tourists, animals behave naturally in their native habitats. Therefore, a major advantage for tourists is that they can see the animals as they really are.
The good and the bad of wildlife tourism part 2. So today we're going to be talking about the organizations and people that not only protect the animals, but also make sure that you are being very ethical when you are going to see them in the wildlife. We want to make sure that scary things don't happen to the animals and they are all happy so that we can be happy too.
That's true. The article begins for today by saying, although examples of abusive animal practices can still be found around the world, there has been a push for more ethical wildlife tourism in recent years. Yeah, there's still cases where, of course, animals are treated badly by tourists or by companies trying to make money from tourists, but it's much less than before. There's a greater awareness, I think, social media and news programs, nature programs on television. A lot of these things have made people a lot smarter and a lot more knowledgeable about what is good and what is bad for the animals. So that's great.
Ethics are so important. When practiced in an ethical manner, wildlife tourism can actually serve as a great tool to educate people and raise awareness about wildlife conservation. So this is actually a good tool for teaching us about animals and how we can protect them and why it's important. To educate means to teach, to give information that helps people learn about something important. We can receive education by being educated by teachers at school. We are educated by the media. We can be also educated by organizations protecting animals. A sentence for you. The organization provides resources to educate the public on mental health, giving us the knowledge that we need about these sicknesses and how we can take better care of one another. Education is important because it helps to raise awareness of issues that impact us in our environment.
That's right. And awareness is just knowing about something. Doesn't mean you're an expert about it, but it means you've heard about it. You know what's going on. You might know a few basic facts and some basic information. If you read the news, you'll have an awareness of the big events going on around the world at that time. Of course, social media gives you an awareness of what your friends have been doing, even if
trends.
or trends and things. Even if you haven't seen your friends in a few weeks or even a few years, you have an awareness of what they're doing because you saw pictures from their holiday or something like that. It just means you know what's going on around you. You know about the events in your world. For example, the event raised awareness about the negative effects of climate change on the environment. A lot of people have much more awareness now, the threats to the environment. And what about ethical wildlife tourism awareness? Well, there's actually groups out there whose only job is to educate people. It says groups like World Animal Protection promote ethical wildlife tourism. Right, so this is a group. They can probably guide you and lead you to things that you can do in different places, things that will get you close to the animals while still treating the animals very, very well. This type of tourism, ethical wildlife tourism, involves taking part only in activities that don't harm vulnerable animals or damage natural habitats, and it encourages tourists to make better choices while traveling. So if you see something kind of cool in an advertisement or in a photograph from a place, you can, look it up and find out, is it okay? Do the animals get treated well when the tourists all go home? This is the kind of information that groups like this can give you.
Yep, and groups like this promote ideas. That means to share, to sell, to give you, to tell you to believe it or to buy it is to promote something. You can promote an item, an idea, or you can promote a cause. It's obvious that the company has spent a lot of money on promoting its newest cell phones. This would include ads on TV. You would see it on YouTube. You could see it on the billboard at the MRT. All right, back to our article. Safaris, whale watching tours, and shark cage diving are activities that fall under the ethical wildlife tourism umbrella. This means the activities that are okay and good for animals, not just random activities that could hurt them. These are planned activities. As an added benefit for tourists, animals behave naturally in their native habitats. And this is the most important point. We don't want to change the way they are to suit us. We are suiting them and making it good for everyone. Therefore, a major advantage for tourists is that they can see the animals as they really are. So their behaviors are not being modified. We are suiting their needs and their habitat. So we're going to take a very quick break and then find out how else we are protecting animals in wildlife tourism.
Hello， 大家好，我是 Hanny。野生动物旅游似乎是弊大于利，人类为了自己的娱乐而牺牲了动物的自由，那他们被打扰啊、迫害、虐待等等。好，那么课文写到说，近年来一直在推动提倡更合乎道德的野生动物旅游，这样的旅游方式其实可以作为教育民众和提升野生动物保育意识的绝佳工具。那像观察野生动物的旅游啊，还有赏鲸旅行，还有铁笼潜水。 水观沙，这些都是属于合乎道德野生动物旅游范畴的活动。好，那么课文提到一个额外的优点，就是说动物们它们待在这个原生栖地，可以表现得很自然，它们的行为不会被干扰改变。那这样我们观光客也就能看到动物的真正的样貌了。Rainbow 老师刚刚在提到行为改变时，他用到 modify 这个动词 ，modify，modify 可以表达改造啊、改变或是更改、修改的意思。再看到单字 educate。它是动词，表示教育、教导，或者是有培养的意思。那么 awareness 则是指意识、察觉或者是体认，它是不可数名词哦。然后我们看到 promote， 它是动词，表示促进、提倡或者是促销，也有晋升，像我们升迁的那个意思。例句有提到说，那间公司花了不少钱来宣传他们最新款的手机。这时候 Rainbow 老师他有提到 billboard，billboard 可以指大型广告看板。好，那这边2个重点，我们进入文法时间。好，我们来看第一个重点是 when 或是 while 后面接分词 VING 或 PP 的用法。连接词 when 或是 while 可以引导时间副词子句去表达在什么什么时候。那么副词子句的主词跟主要子句的主词相同的话，我们就可以把副词子句的主词省略，然后表示主动的动词呢，把它改成现在分词 VING， 表示被动的动词把它改成过去分词就好。那我们看2个例句。Some people listen to music while studying. 有些人在念书时听音乐，这时候 while 后面的主词就省略了，直接接了分词 studying。第2个例句是 He often listens to podcasts when stuck in traffic. 他被困在车阵时常听播客节目，这时候 when 的后面主词省略了，直接接了分词 stuck。好，再看第2个重点是 fall under the 名词 umbrella， 或者是 fall under the umbrella of 加名词，这是表达说属于什么什么的范畴。那么 umbrella 在这边呢是表示综合体或者是总称的意思。举例来说 ，She loves everything that falls under the umbrella of art。她喜爱属于艺术范畴的所有事物。好，接回课文中。
Besides encouraging more awareness about nature conservation, wildlife tourism can provide huge economic benefits to local people, especially in poor, undeveloped areas. In turn, this can further increase conservation awareness and encourage governments to devote more resources to protecting animals and their habitats. Wildlife tourism can provide amazing experiences, educate people about the natural world, and promote conservation. However, before we engage in activities involving wildlife, we should consider our impact on the animals and local environment. All right, so as we get back to the article, let's find out some more benefits of ethical wildlife tourism. Of course, it should always be good for the animals, number 1. Number 2, we would like it to be good for the tourists so they can still go to an amazing country and see the beautiful native animals. But we can also find other benefits from ethical wildlife tourism.
Besides encouraging more awareness about nature conservation, wildlife tourism can provide huge economic benefits to local people, especially in poor, underdeveloped areas. That's right. There are a lot of opportunities for them to have jobs, to make some money, which is very important because having a daily money for your living, that can help a lot of people. The word economic is an adjective that is related to economy. Economy is the state of money in our environment. So economic is anything related to money, such as jobs. During his speech, the president outlined the new economic policies. This is going to be talking about how the government is going to be using money in this next term.
All right, back to the article. It says, in turn, so if we're helping out the local economy, that is good. And then in turn, this can further increase conservation awareness. and encourage governments to devote more resources to protecting animals and their habitats. Because, you know, the economy, money, jobs are important.
So important.
And if we can show to countries, especially countries that don't have a lot of jobs or don't have a big economy, if we can show them that treating animals really, really well will bring in tourists, and tourists will bring in money, and the money can help your country. If we can do all of that really successfully, it's kind of a win-win-win-win-win situation.
Yeah.
It will be good for the animals, the people, the foreigners, the tourists, the local,
the habitat,
everyone.
the environment.
And of course, all that money can be then devoted to doing other good things in the country and in the communities. When we devote something, we basically give something over to a certain reason or a cause or a project or something like that. You can devote your time to doing something. If you want to become a good violin player, you'll have to devote a lot of time to studying and practicing.
Years.
If you marry someone, you could say, I'm devoting my life to you.
Forever.
I will live my life along with your life in order to make you happy. Aww. You could do other things with your time, with your life, with your love,
money.
But when you're devoting it to something, you're kind of choosing to put it in a certain area or to focus it on a certain thing. For example, Dr. Austin has devoted years of his life to finding a cure for a rare disease. He worked hard, rarely took any holidays.
Didn't go home.
Didn't have much of a family life. He spent all of his time and all of his energy helping to find cures.
Back to the article, wildlife tourism can provide amazing experiences, educate people about the natural world, and promote conservation. 3 important things. However, before we engage in activities involving wildlife, we should consider our impact on the animals and local environment. That's right, it's very important to do your research because you are going there and spending money. So you want to know what impact you have and what these organizations have on the greater environment.
Impact is an interesting word. Here we're using it as a noun. It can be a verb. When something impacts something as a verb, you say it a little differently. It hits that thing usually with a lot of force or power.
Strong.
Right? If a big rock or an asteroid impacts the earth like it did at the time of the dinosaurs, that will release huge energy. And when we use impact in this way, though, as a noun, we're kind of talking about the effect of something, and it probably has a big effect.
Yes.
All right? So if you're taking a medicine, you're hoping it will have an impact on your disease and on how you feel. If you get your heart broken, it might have an impact on how your relationships go in the future. You might find it harder to trust people or something like that. And if you have a really good education or no education, that could have an impact on your life and your choices in the future. So an impact is basically an effect, and probably a bigger effect than something small. Yeah, for sure. Here's a good example. Her time in Paris had a huge impact on her life. She learned to speak French. She fell in love with French culture.
She moved to France.
She got involved with fashion or something like that. It wasn't just like, oh yeah, I lived in France.
Yeah.
It was okay. No, it had a huge effect.
Okay, so we are done with the article, and I have another what do you think question, which we've talked about before, but Mike can give another answer.
Okay.
Have you ever engaged in wildlife tourism? If so, what was your experience like? Do you feel like it was ethical? So I know that you have an example that is from Taiwan.
Yeah, I have wildlife tourism here and something similar in Canada, and I think both of them were similar experiences. I went out whale watching. So you get up, you get into a boat, you drive, in my case here in Taiwan, we left Suao over near Ilan and Turtle Island.
Beautiful.
We went out to look at dolphins, and we saw dolphins, and it was great. Was it ethical? I believe it was.
How do you know?
Because the boat stopped. We didn't try to get close to the dolphins.
You didn't make too much noise.
Right? You don't make too much noise. You certainly don't chase them
very
or
respectful.
bother them and that kind of thing.
And you didn't stay too long?
No, we didn't stay too long. We just kind of, traveled around. And when we saw the dolphins, we stopped. When they moved along, we kind of kept on going, but not fast.
Leave them to be in their natural habitat.
It was nice. And the best thing was, I remember we were the second tour. We got there after the first tour. They were getting off, and we said, "Did you see dolphins?" And they're like, "No." They woke up at 6 in the morning.
Well, the
and
dolphins were there for you.
Nothing. We got on around lunchtime, and we saw dolphins. So it was kind of special and fun in that way. So yeah, I would suggest engage in some ethical wildlife tourism.
Make sure it's ethical.
It could be a life-changing experience for you and a good experience for the animals and the local people too. Take care of yourselves, take care of the earth, the planet, and all the things that live on it, and we'll see you back here soon. Until then, bye-bye.
Bye.
But not mosquitoes. You don't have to take care of mosquitoes.
除了提升自然保育意识，野生动物旅游还可以为当地人来提供巨大的经济利益，尤其是在贫穷的未开发地区。那这可以进一步的来提高保育意识，鼓励政府投入更多的资源来保护动物还有它们的栖息地。好，那我们这2天的课文讨论了野生动物旅游的这个利与弊。那不管怎么样，在我们要从事与野生动物有关的活动之前，应该都要好好思考我们对这些动物与当地环境的影响。我们最后来看单字 economic， 它是形容词，形容经济的、经济上的。那么 devote 它是动词，表示奉献、投入，可能像是投入你的时间啊、精力等等。常见的用法就是 devote 加名词或 oneself。to 再加名词或动名词。接着看到 impact， 它是指影响或者是作用，这个字也可以当动词去表达对什么产生影响啊、冲击或是撞击。Mike 老师在解释时，他就提到说小行星撞击地球，老师提到这个 asteroid 就是指小行星的意思。好，那么以上是今天的讲解，同学别走开，马上回来哦。
Although examples of abusive animal practices can still be found around the world, there has been a push for more ethical wildlife tourism in recent years. When practiced in an ethical manner, wildlife tourism can actually serve as a great tool to educate people and raise awareness about wildlife conservation. Groups like World Animal Protection promote ethical wildlife tourism. This type of tourism involves taking part only in activities that don't harm vulnerable animals or damage natural habitats, and it encourages tourists to make better choices while traveling. Safaris, whale-watching tours, and shark cage diving are activities that fall under the ethical wildlife tourism umbrella. As an added benefit for tourists, animals behave naturally in their native habitats. Therefore, a major advantage for tourists is that they can see the animals as they really are. Besides encouraging more awareness about nature conservation, wildlife tourism can provide huge economic benefits to local people, especially in poor, undeveloped areas. In turn, this can further increase conservation awareness and encourage governments to devote more resources to protecting animals and their habitats. Wildlife tourism can provide amazing experiences, educate people about the natural world, and promote conservation. However, before we engage in activities involving wildlife, we should consider our impact on the animals and local environment.
Besides Taichung Pavilion, which is officially recognized as a historic site, there are other amazing historic sites in Taichung Park, such as Taiwan Castle North Gate, built in 1889. It used to be the entrance of North Gate Hall, erected during the Qing Dynasty, but it is now all that remains of Taiwan Castle. The Japanese colonial government wanted to demolish the gate and city walls during its occupation of Taiwan. However, the local residents protested against its plans. As a compromise, the gate was moved to Taichung Park and converted to a recreational facility for the public. Another historical site is Wu's Residence Gatehouse. It is a red brick building that served as the front gate to the residence of Mr. Luan Chi Wu. Wu's residence was demolished in 1980, and the Taichung city government relocated the gatehouse to Taichung Park. Many visitors have stopped to admire its small, exquisite design. A curious-looking torii gate lies flat on the ground not too far from Wu's residence gatehouse. This is the site of the former Taichung Shrine. The shrine was built in 1911, and funds were later raised to build the stone torii gate and the tamagaki, or fence, around the shrine. However, the torii gate and shrine were eventually demolished with the relocation of Taichung Shrine. The Taichung city government reassembled the torii gate during the renovation of the park in 2000, placing it flat on the ground to let visitors commemorate the shrine.